We head out to the fan hotline like we do every single Monday here at 5 p.m. and talk to Browns analyst Nathan Zegura. Nathan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Good afternoon.
Nathan, let me ask you, where are you with this game? Are you more excited by some of those bright performances we got from Shedeur, from Fannin, from some other dudes, or dejected by the latest loss?
It's a little bit of both, but I'm going to skew positive. I mean, this whole season to me was about trying to figure out if we could find a solution at the quarterback position. And Shedeur Sanders was a guy that I liked a great deal coming out of college. And I thought, when we were at the combine, I thought he was going to be, the number 2 pick or go in the top 5 in the NFL draft. And we all know that he had his draft day fall, but the things that you saw on tape, the ball placement, the ability and willingness to stand in the pocket and deliver throws with defenders bearing down on you, the ability to make plays in and out of structure. And like I said, that ball placement that not only allows him to make very tight window throws, but also promotes yards after the catch. You were talking about, Harold Fannin, and we saw the ball to Jerry Jeudy. I mean, that was what you wanted to see. And I think the thing that I'm the most excited about with Shedeur Sanders is you're seeing every week him take something from the previous week's game, decide that that's the point of emphasis, that's what I'm working on, and then apply it. And in this game, they wanted him to rip the ball to the middle of the field with a little more anticipation, a little more confidence, a little more on time and in rhythm, and he did that from a clean pocket, which is one of the ways I really think you can measure quarterbacks. Great to be able to make plays out of structure, but when everything's good, you've got to be really good. He averaged nearly 12 yards an attempt, had a rating of 150. Now, he was pressured 63% of the time. That was one of the highest pressure rates all season for any quarterback that he faced, and handled that, I thought, very well. And not only that, he was hit 14 times. So go back to that Pittsburgh game. Dylan Gabriel was hit 17 times in that one. That was the most a quarterback had been hit in the NFL. He got hit 14 times in this game and continued to make plays from the pocket. I was very impressed with Shedeur Sanders, and I think we should all be very encouraged by what we saw there. And now you're going to have 3 games against teams that are fighting for their playoff lives in Chicago, in Buffalo, and in Pittsburgh. And if he can continue this improvement that we've seen, it was a historic game in terms of the overall output. The only other rookie that's ever done that was Joe Burrow. He's the first rookie since 2000, since Aaron Rodgers, to have 4 or more plays of 50-plus yards in his first 3 starts. He is this is legit, and I'm excited. I know we needed time to develop, and he got that, and he's put in the work. Kevin Stefanski's putting a lot of extra work with him as well, and it's paying off. To me, that's the takeaway from this game. Yeah, of course, the Browns lost it, and nobody's happy about that, and there are a myriad of reasons why they did, and some are all too familiar. But this was Shedeur Sanders, 10 of 13 on the 2 drives at the end of the game. Like, that's all you want, the ability to tuck it and run, quick decisions, accurate. I'm very happy about that and what we saw from Shedeur Sanders, because to me, that's the biggest thing facing this organization, is trying to find that quarterback. And Shedeur Sanders can get you to a point by the end of the year. We know he's starting the rest of the way. He certainly has earned that. But if he can get you to a point by the end of the year where you say, look, we got these 2 ones, let's get a wide receiver and an offensive tackle, let's get this kid a supporting cast. I'd be really excited about that as a Browns fan.
Yeah, Nathan, for me, it's the amount that he overcame in that game. Not only the bad weather, you had 1 million offensive line injuries, 3 different pass catchers ended up getting injured in that game. You mentioned the pressure rate. That was the highest any quarterback has faced this year. Like I don't know that people quite understand the full context of that, to then put up almost 400 yards of production. It's insane. I want to ask you, though, we got a lot of response back to some of this, and the same response keeps coming up. It's like, oh, but it's just this bad Titans team. What would you say to somebody that has that response?
Look at what Sam Darnold did against them. Look at how they played teams in the last, month of the season. And even, the Jags beat them pretty good, but it wasn't Trevor Lawrence's best game. This wasn't a terrible defense by any stretch of the imagination. It's one that can heat up quarterbacks. That's where they were top half of the league. But this wasn't a bottom, of the league defense. This was not necessarily an easy match. And like I said, they're professionals too. And that's the margin of error in the NFL. Now, I want to see it go. Now, from DVOA standpoint, they're a tougher defense than some of the defenses he's going to face down the stretch. So let's see it. I want to see him continue. These guys are all in the NFL. This isn't like you're going and playing in college where you get to play somebody out of conference. It's a cupcake. There's no such thing. Should the Browns have won the game? Of course they should have. Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best defensive players on the planet. And you certainly saw that on full display in this game. And I thought, again, Shedeur handled it. He took a beating. The throw to Fannin, where he's staring down the barrel, he knows he's going to get hit. The subtlety, one of the things they told him, use your eyes in the middle of the field on the play to Jeudy to just get the middle of the safety to bite, that he's actually throwing the deep over to Cedric Tillman and then throws that kind of glance slant right behind him to Jeudy. I mean, That's sophisticated stuff. And he had a lot to learn about the mechanics of being an NFL quarterback, and I think that's why people were not as pleased with how long it took to get him on the field. But there were a lot of things he needed to learn just from calling plays in the huddle, things that he had not done. And he's done a great job, and I'll give him a lot of credit. He has put in a ton of work since at the whole time, but especially since he's been the starter to, make sure that he's improving the things that need to be improved. And I think I don't know how, if you're a Browns fan, that game, the result stinks. Of course it does. And we're all too, unfortunately, familiar with that. But Shedeur Sanders gives you not just hope, like there should be a little bit of belief as well that, okay, maybe we have found our way out of this here. And then to do it with a 5th-round pick, you start to think about what that could mean for the next 3 years. That could be massive for this franchise.
So with that, Stefanski today says Shedeur's the starter the rest of the way. What do you need to see in those final 4 games to have that real conversation this offseason? Do you roll forward with Shedeur, or do you still look to the draft for that future quarterback?
I mean, if I keep seeing what I saw in this game, I think that answers it. Now, you want him to, the interception was bad. And that's part of, you live with it a little bit, right? You try to do too much, and sometimes it turns into great plays, and sometimes it doesn't. But, you want to clean down maybe some of those, what I would call bad decisions. You want to make sure we don't get into some spots where we kind of have some of these lulls like we've had in a couple of these starts. But for the most part, he's shown the ability to attack you at all levels of the field. He's shown the ability to work inside the numbers and outside near the sidelines. I like what I've seen. And we just need to continue to see more and see it consistent. If he goes out there and you play these games competitively against these playoff teams, then hopefully, obviously, you want to win them. But as long as you're playing competitive football with these teams in December and he's looking good, I think you're well on your way to being able to make that answer.
It feels like anytime we have something special with the quarterback, there's always some connection that just happens. For Flacco, it was him and Njoku that just kind of popped up out of nowhere, but the two of them are really in sync. The connection that it feels like Shedeur has with Harold Fannin right now feels very similar to that connection with Flacco and Njoku. It just feels like they're on the same page and they're matched up very well, Nathan.
Yeah, I like that. And Harold Fannin, has basically been the Browns' leading receiver the entire season, and that's still the case as his first 100-yard game. Makes a huge catch down the stretch to, give the Browns an opportunity to tie it with that 2-point conversion. He's been a gem, and you look at this class. I was talking about this earlier on Browns Daily today, but Quinshon Judkins is top 10 in the league in yards after contact per carry. He's top 10 in the league in yards after contact, period. And he's like around 3.3 yards after contact per carry. He's got 700 yards after contact. The guys who are around him at those levels have like between 1,000 and 1,350 yards. James Cook on average gets, more than 2 yards down the field before taking contact. Judkins is 0.4 or 0.6, depending on which one you use for the whole team, which is the lowest in the league, or second lowest in the league. This rookie class has an opportunity. Schlesinger, we know, is unpacked to be the defensive rookie of the year. Sampson certainly looks like a very good role player. He's got to take care of the football. He knows that. Mason Graham is playing very well, even though it's not necessarily showing up in the stat sheet just yet. And now you've got Shedeur. This rookie class has a chance to be really transformational. And yeah, I like that chemistry. I like the analogy you used there. But Fannon's been kind of the guy. And listen, the confidence this staff has in him. He lines up wide. He lines up in the slot. He lines up as an inline tight end. He lines up on a wing. He lines up in the backfield. He's doing everything. He's taking handoffs this year. They know he is a playmaker, and that was an absolute gem. Somebody that they had targeted to be Cleveland Brown early in the draft process, and I know we're very thrilled they were able to make that happen. And now he's had the most productive season a rookie tight end has had in the history of this organization this past week, going past what Ozzie Newsome had done in his rookie year.
Nathan, there were some good points defensively across 4 quarters. Devin Bush's interception, Miles gets another sack here, but it wasn't up to snuff with what we saw most of this season. What caused the defensive performance, maybe a little big step back yesterday?
I wish it were easy that there was one answer, but obviously, perhaps we missed Malik Collins more than we thought up front in terms of from a run defense perspective. But I think a couple times we just got, kind of out-leveraged. They took advantage a little bit of our aggressiveness because, Tony Pollard's a good running back. He had 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, but he's not necessarily a home run hitter. In fact, he'd come into the game with his longest run of the season being 21 yards, and he had 2 carries that were more than that, including, one of 60-plus for a touchdown, another one nearly 40. That was a career day running the football for him. So that was a shocker, especially considering how well he had done the week before, shutting down Christian McCaffrey on the ground. that was very, very, that was tough. So they've got to get that cleaned up, obviously. Especially you think about, Chicago's run the ball well with Swift and Monungai. You've got, James Cook coming to town, who's been one of the best running backs, pure running backs in the league this year for the Buffalo Bills. So you've got to get that cleaned up. And that was very disappointing. I thought that was disappointing. And then obviously, again, to have, give up a big kick return on the opening kickoff and then to have the block punt late, that was, just devastating. And that block punt changes the math, right? It changed the math, got them to up 14. And without it, I think we're having a lot different discussions today, and the Browns are winners.
What did you make of not having Shedeur out there for the 2-point conversion?
It's hard to get upset with a decision when you watch the All-22 and you know that had the player executed the play properly in the way that it was practiced, it was easy. I mean, if he flips that ball to Gage Larvidan like the play was designed to do, you could see that it was going to be a success, and I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. That being said, in the moment, and certainly now, Shedeur was red hot, and I would have liked to see him be involved in that play, but that's something that the Browns have been setting up all year, right? Running out of that Wildcat, it's been successful. So this was going to be the wrinkle off of it that we hadn't seen at any point this year. And I think Quinshon just kind of got lost up in his timing, looking for, did the corner run with Gage Larvidan or not? And by the time he processed what he had seen and went to give him the ball, Larvidan was past him, and you could almost see that unfortunate kind of look of panic on his face there as he realized that this play was not going to have the success, certainly, that the Browns wanted, and as a result, they were going to lose the game. So, again, it's one of those things. This is an outcome. There's a huge outcome bias, and I completely get it. But if you watch the tape of the play, you know that had the play been executed the way that it was intended, it would have worked. Again, that being said, I understand people who want Shedeur out there because he was red hot and had driven you down the field for a 60-yard touchdown drive and then an 80-yard touchdown drive to give you that opportunity.
All right, Nathan, great stuff, buddy. Appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week after the Bears game and hopefully a Browns win.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Nathan Zegura, Browns analyst on the Fan Hotline.